CHUMS started in around the end actually of '96, so technically we could be slightly older than 20 years.
I was a Macmillan nurse in Luton, and I'd been a Macmillan nurse for about 3-4 years, and my area was up in the Stopsley area. And then we had a number of deaths of young families, and so we did quite a lot of support work afterwards. And it was just really seeing them on their own as a family when I knew there was another family up at Stopsley that was also going through something similar. The children were struggling.
I was working at that time, I was training in counselling, and I was working as a supervisor for the bereavement volunteers at the hospice, and I was totally blown away with what they were saying to me about how there was nothing for bereaved children if their parents had died or their brothers or sisters.
So we just made a decision, should we run a workshop one Saturday. I'd also gone to Winston's Wish, which was quite pivotal at the time, and did a week's course there, and just thought we can do this here in Luton. And we spoke to some people from Crews, and we got some volunteers, and it was with the social worker at the Keach, her and I, then said let's go with it, and we ran a Saturday workshop at Sundon Park Clinic in Luton, which is where the Macmillan nurses were based at the time.
We sort of knew that we would go for funding in the NHS, from the NHS, and I thought, well, I'm going to get that job, and so I made it my mission to get that job.
I knew Dawn anyway, and we interviewed, and we got Macmillan funding for the post, so Macmillan sponsored us, and I can remember we had to put an application in. And I think because it's quite an emotional subject, there was a lot of interest. So I think we were just lucky at the time to get some support and some funding to set it up, so it got bigger and bigger.
I'll make a coffee, I'll drink it quickly. So I came to CHUMS in 1999, 2000 time, so quite a long time ago. And I came because my granddad died. We moved rooms the other day, started changing the house around, and I found it and I was like, oh my God. It's just got like different questions in it, and you can write about why you're sad and what you wish you had, and at the end of the book there's a chance that you can write a letter. My writing 20 years ago. But yeah, like reading through that now, it still makes me tearful. But I'm glad that we had it, and I'm glad that I've still got it and something to look back on.
First time I came to CHUMS, I literally had never heard of it, didn't know what it was. Obviously I was quite young at the time as well, so it was a bit of like a nervous experience. My first shock was there was like a lot of kids, a lot of younger people. I didn't know how many it was going to be, like the ratio as such, like to me, to people that were actually with CHUMS, but there was a lot of kids. I remember thinking that, and a lot of people like my age, a little bit older, some I think even a little bit younger. So, because obviously when something happens like that, you just sort of, you don't know if it's just you, and you feel like, very, very isolated, and that's like, I think the most important thing is to not feel isolated. So as soon as you went to CHUMS, there was just so many other kids in the exact same position, or different but very similar situations, and that made it a lot easier, I think, to open up as well, because it would be more difficult to try and explain your own feelings when you felt like there was no one else in the same situation, if that makes sense.
Oh, now we're moving on to 2011. That's me signing the contract to leave the NHS. I always knew in my heart of hearts, as did Amanda, that we would work really well outside of the NHS. We had been told that the NHS didn't want us to leave. In actual fact, if I'm being completely honest, it was a very, very difficult process. And I think I felt a bit like a dog with a bone. I just was not prepared to let go of our vision.
Well, it was quite scary to even think about leaving the NHS, to have the umbrella of such a huge organisation. But what it's meant to us is a service that was a child bereavement service in Bedfordshire. That's now expanded into being just one of a huge number, a growing number of services within CHUMS.
It was a courageous thing to do, to think about bringing out 11 people from a safe and secure cocoon of the NHS and landing them in the middle of Rest Park with nothing, literally we had nothing. We had no insurance, no payroll. We had no way of running a business. We had to start from scratch, and I think we did get a lot of help to leave the NHS with some government funding, but then you kind of felt that you were left just to get on with it on your own. And that's probably the point I started dyeing my hair, actually. But
I guess leaving has enabled us to be incredibly creative, maybe go in directions that, if you'd asked that question just a few years ago, we perhaps would never have imagined we'd be doing the work we're doing now. So I think we've gone from seeing 350 children a year to something nearing 3,000, I think, if I'm right. But so yeah, it's made us very creative and thinking outside of every box.
do you remember when we got that? When we won £50,000, I nearly said 50 million. I thought £50,000 from ITV People's Millions to set up the rec service. Literally, have you got that on film?
I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you all. You've got a lot more work to do over the next.
Oh my. It's amazing, isn't it?
Why is that big?
£50,000, my word. I guess it's because I always believed. Do you remember those times we used to talk about using football as a medium to engage young people who didn't want to engage in mental health services? I guess I always knew, Jamie, that you have to break down the shackles that have constrained mental health services and reach out to children and young people in ways that they can understand. And I think to be given £50,000 to start the football programme was amazing, and then to actually see it in action and to see how young people blossomed through that programme and cope with the challenges that they face, because yeah, it just was amazing. I just can't believe that we actually won that.
So we're now not just able to support those bereaved children, we're still doing all of that work, but now we're also supporting young carers in Luton. We have a neonatal bereavement service across the county supporting families where a baby has died. We have a huge emotional wellbeing service with children across Bedford and Central Bedfordshire.
The whole experience has been incredible. We've had some really difficult times, well, you know. We've had real financial difficulties as we've learned how to manage outside of the umbrella of the NHS. But support from the community is totally phenomenal. You know, literally, we couldn't deliver a lot of the services that we do without them.
I've been at CHUMS for just a short time, and I've already been blown away by the support that we get from the local community to help us raise the money that we need to. It varies from people taking on marathons to jumping out of planes to holding bake sales, putting on their own events, doing quiz nights, schools holding mufti days for us, down to simply putting spare change in a bucket or donating resources so that we can put on the workshops that we do.
The community also supports us because we recruit from the local community, and that is the staff, and also from the volunteers who come from so many professions and support us in so many different ways, whether that's volunteering, through fundraising, driving, admin, and working with the bereavement workshops and offering one-to-one for bereaved families. I mean, it's been amazing.
I think it helped me a lot because I'm quite a closed book anyway, so I don't really express my feelings, but I felt like there I could, and I wouldn't be judged for it. I know it sounds crazy being, 7, 8, but yeah, it was nice to not be judged and just speak and speak and speak and speak, and someone listen to you and understand what you're talking about.
I really believe that they do deserve the best, and that we have a responsibility to help them all to blossom and develop resiliency so that they can have the lives that perhaps you and I have had.
If I compare after CHUMS to before CHUMS, because there was that period in my life, there's such a big difference where it's literally black and white. Like there's, you know, the worst time to the best time, you know, and it really, really did help.
We've developed our vision to think now that we can do this in other places, and although it still scares me, and I kind of think, Dawn, who do you think you are? I know that as a team we can achieve anything. And one of my little quotes that I like, which I know you don't like, which says impossible, and if you break it down it says I'm possible. And for me, I think you should never ever limit yourself, because the future can be whatever you want it to be. And I believe that CHUMS has got a great future. We've got a great reputation, and we deserve to have a great reputation because we work really hard to produce the outcomes that children and young people deserve to have. And I think, why not?
We couldn't have foretold where we'd be sitting now with so many different services and being able to support so many more people. And I guess that's always the aim, isn't it, is to try and make sure that support's available. So gosh, looking forward, I have no idea. The sky's the limit.